Welcome back all. I just recently learned that the South Africa state-owned power company, Eskom, just applied to the National Energy Regulator for another price hike in the electrical tariffs that the South African public will need to pay. Even though, earlier the increases was fixed for the next 3 years. In an article of March this year, there was an approval for an increase and this increase was implemented later this year. The article go as follow. The National Energy Regulator of South Africa has approved electricity hikes of 9.41%, 8.1%, and 5.2% for the next 3 financial years, far below Eskom's application for double-digit tariff increases. NERSA made the announcement on Thursday in Pretoria following Eskom's application for price hikes of 17.1% for 2019/20, 15.4% for 2020/21 and 15.5% for 2021/22. The requested increases were largely opposed by business, labor, and civil society in written and oral submissions. NERSA chairperson Jacob Modise said the regulator received 119,000 written comments on Eskom's application and held public hearings in 7 out of the 9 provinces. The Minerals Council of SA warned that the energy-intensive mining industry could shed 150,000 jobs if the Eskom application was granted. Earlier, NERSA said in an emailed response to FIN24 that the recent spate of load shedding in November, December, and February would be considered and adjustments made where necessary. Eskom has previously blamed plant maintenance and breakdowns as well as delays in the completion of new power stations for the rolling blackouts. The regulator also previously confirmed that the decision to separate Eskom into 3 separate entities, generation, distribution, and transmission, would not affect its price determination. The increases for the next 3 years are on top of the 4.41% hike, approved by NERSA in October, on Eskom's Regulatory Clearing Account, RCA, application. The RCA refers to funds Eskom can recover due to an electricity shortfall or an escalation in operating costs. Eskom will also be allowed to claw back 3.86 billion from its RCA for 2017/2018, NERSA said, and further details of this will be announced soon. Eskom, which is 420 billion in the red, received a lifeline in the February budget speech of 23 billion every year, for the next 3 years from National Treasury. The power utility projects a 20 billion loss for year-end March and warned of further losses in the next financial year, even if the full tariff application is granted. NERSA has previously rejected Eskom's applications for big tariff hikes. In December 2017, the regulator denied a 9.9% tariff hike application and instead approved only 5.23%. Modise apologized for the more than 1-hour delay to the start of the briefing. The regulator held a meeting on Thursday morning with the Electricity Subcommittee and there was extensive debate at the meeting and they went over time. In an editorial that was published on the 19th of December, the following was in the article. Eskom's addiction, just say no. The chutzpah shown in demanding an extra 17% hike to your electricity tariff, to cover 27 billion in losses caused by load shedding, is remarkable. If you were angry with Eskom before, just wait, the chutzpah shown in demanding an extra 17% hike to your electricity tariff, to cover 27 billion in losses caused by load shedding, is remarkable. There is something abusive in that, like the loud who claims medical costs for the damage done to his fist after roughing up someone in a bar fight. Last week, the National Energy Regulator of SA, NERSA, published Eskom's application on its website, in which it asks for the extra money, partly because the revenue impact of load shedding was not included in its original tariff application. In other words, it lost out on 762 million it couldn't bill during the year to March 2018, because of the 418 hours you had to endure without electricity that year. That's insulting enough. But perhaps the most egregious part is that Eskom also wants extra cash to pay employee benefits to thousands of staff who, experts agree, it doesn't even need. For example, a 2016 World Bank study concluded that Eskom was 66% overstaffed. Others put the proportion lower, but whichever way you slice it, Taxpayers are paying too much for Eskom's regime of sheltered employment. In its application, the utility has asked for an extra 3.2 billion in employee benefits, above the 24.3 billion that NERSA allowed it last time. NERSA had reasoned that this would pay 32,954 staff, not the 39,292 people Eskom employed. As Eskom puts it, this required Eskom to reduce its number of employees by 6,323. But of course, Eskom didn't do this. The government doesn't have the stomach to confront the trade unions to address this issue. So instead, it wants to dip into your wallet. The bottom line is that South Africans, already being milked by Eskom while suffering frequent periods where they don't get the service they're paying for, must tighten their belts to pay more, even if Eskom can't be bothered to do the same. Of course, it's not as if NERSA is unaware of Eskom's bloated staff complement. Back in 2017, the regulator conducted its own benchmarking analysis and the results were predictably dismal. Eskom has been consistently using more staff to produce less electricity since it first shocked the nation with a spate of rolling blackouts in 2008. Commendably, NERSA has held the line so far, arguing that staff bonuses, leave payouts, and chairman's awards are all within management control and could have been managed so that they do not increase significantly. It's imperative that NERSA, chaired by former Jonick Holdings CEO Jacob Modies, continues to approach Eskom's arguments skeptically. So what will that extra 27.2 billion, split over 2 years, mean for Eskom's paying customers? As energy expert Ted Blom puts it, as the increase is over and above their annual tariff hikes, in reality, your electricity costs will double. On Blom's website, 41,229 people have commented on Eskom's application, and you can imagine which way the sentiment goes. As one person put it, it's criminal that consumers are forced to pay for Eskom's disasters. So, before the regulator considers granting an extra dime to Eskom, it should insist that the utility takes some hard decisions about staff. The public shouldn't be forced to pay for the government's inability to confront the unions. And it should also insist that Eskom recoup the 36.5 billion owed to it by municipalities. In the absence of setting hard conditions, it's like giving a gambling addict someone else's credit card and an Uber to the nearby casino. Public comments must be in by January 20 and public hearings will take place from February 3 to 21. Now is the time to step up. End of article. But what is this power monopoly actually doing with its overbloated staff complement as incompetent labor, where every time something breaks, outside consultants and engineers are brought in to sort out the problems to bring the grid losses back in line with the standard demand? Even while the public of South Africa is suffering under rolling blackouts, Eskom still export power to countries that cannot pay for the power that they consume. So in essence, small tax-paying base in South Africa is paying for the power in other countries while they themselves need to sit in the dark. Another problem that Eskom first need to address is the debt from municipalities like Soweto that can resolve a major part of the financial woes of Eskom. Another issue is the lack of accountability of the, no less than 10 CEOs over the last 11 years where corruption thrived and the company looted, but the public gets penalized for the corruption and lack of competency as well as the government, and especially the law enforcement agencies to tackle the illegal connections to the grid where a load of capacity is lost. So unless Eskom can get any more money from the tax base and the consumers, Eskom need to sort out their house and collect what needs to be collected, fire whom needs to be fired and employ the qualified people that can get the job done. Only then should this state-owned enterprise be allowed to get an increase that is inflation-related and not 3 times the official inflation rate above what has already been approved. When a private company makes a loss, they cannot expect the public to bail them out every year when their service delivery is up the creek just to save the jobs of so many incompetent employees. Thank you for watching.